is the future. Evolution.
The Crossing Realms Conference launches September 19th and 20th and will dock in Richmond, Missouri. This is already being called the event of the year, folks. With an unprecedented list of speakers and special guests, 2 days of cryptids, UFOs, and paranormal presentations, along with a celebrity-filled ghost hunt, meet and greet, gallery reading, vendors, and a film screening. This promises to be both educational and fun. Go to Eventbrite.com to secure your tickets and vendor slots before they are all abducted. They're going fast.
Yes, everybody, secure those tickets. They are going fast. I got to make a quick adjustment here. There we go. Secure those tickets, everybody. They're going fast. We started marketing that in December, and the hotel we're all staying at is already sold out and booked. Yeah, so don't worry. Don't fret if you have to get tickets because they're available, and there are other hotels, motels around the area. This will be a fantastic event. So the links are posted, of course, in my YouTube channel, and of course the Blondes and the Booze, Tex, and everybody else. So go check it out. I don't promote that as much Saturday night because Saturday night's a different show, as y'all know. And maybe you know this or maybe you don't. Excuse me. Typically sitting in on this show is Krista, Brandi, and Monica. Well, they're all gallivanting down in Texas with Tex in San Antonio. Yeah, there's a pretty cool conference going on. So they're off this evening or this late night, 11 o'clock in the East, wherever you are in the world. Thanks for coming on in. However, it's still going to be a fantastic show because I finally got one of my good buddies, great friend of mine I've known for, geez, Jason, I'm going to pull him up in a minute, Jason McLean, about maybe 5 years, maybe 6, I don't know. He'll be joining us. This will be a fantastic show. We got a lot of cool, bizarre news to go over and a few other interesting things. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube, Texas Front Porch on YouTube, The Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast on YouTube, as long as Paranormal Paul, Donnie Cho says stuff. Yeah, check out Donnie. Paranormal Paul as well. And my buddy Jason McLean, he has a Serial Papers. You'll find him on YouTube, but we're talking a little bit about that today. He's kind of coming a little bit out of retirement to do a thing. We'll get into that a little later. The Super Chat's open. Great way to support what we do around here. You can become a BMR pirate. Yes, you can, mateys. Join today. Join the many. Join the few, depending on your point of view. Thank you so much for that. And, you know, speaking of Jason, he's a fantastic artist. And as you all know, I got 2 books out. Bigfoot Michigan Rob presents True Cryptid Encounters, Book 1 and Book 2. Now, the thing about this that I'm going to promote is not so much the sales of the book. By the way, you can find it on Amazon. Type Bigfoot Michigan Rob in your Amazon browser. If you have bought it, please leave a review. It's all analytics these days. But really today, more importantly, look at the artwork. Yeah, they pop, don't they? Well, you know what? That's the work of Jason McLean. Yes, fantastic artist. He's really multi-talented. And we got a great multi-level show for you. So with that being said, I'm going to bring up Mr. McLean.
You know, if you do a 3rd book, I don't know how I'm going to have them stationed on the page. Because, like, I did them as, like, a mirror reflection, different tone, you know, different colors, but they were designed to be mirror images of each other. So if there's a 3rd one, I'm going to have to get creative on that.
Well, you know what? Well, hang on. What I got here, I got T-Bone. Thanks, T-Bone. You gifted 5 BMR Pirates. That's Diane. Hi, Diane. Let me find T-Bone. It must have been early.
Yeah.
Must have been early, T-Bone. There he is. Thank you, T-Bone. Awesome. T-Bone's a great supporter of all of our channels across the board, not just mine, but Tex and the girls and Paul and everybody else. So thank you, T-Bone. 5 new pirates. Thank you, T-Bone. So yeah, but I am coming out with a third book, Jason. But I've decided that book 3 is not going to be True Cryptid Encounters. I'm going to put that. I'm going to let those 2 books mature. I don't want a third. A third is probably will come out in due time. But my third book, I'm looking at 2 different avenues, and I think I'm deciding to go with my own personal autobiography of all the craziness that I've gone through in my life in the paranormal side, leading up to that fateful day, June 15th, 2018. So I'm mulling that over, so you don't have to worry about any work right now.
All right.
I'm writing it on a legal pad. It's not even in the computer. Very rough early stages because I'm still undecided.
I get you. Oh, yeah. No, trust me. I feel you on that one.
And I don't want to rush it because it's not going to be 150 pages. It's going to be double.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take my time with it.
I get you.
So I'll get with you, when I get with on that one. I still got to figure out the format. So when we do it, it's easier when we produce it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I feel you. So, yeah. I think I've stopped counting the years because I'm going to feel old. But I'll just say I've known you for too long.
Yeah, I don't know either. I say 5, 4, 5. It's been probably, I don't know. It's been a while.
Yeah, let's say 4. That makes it.
Hey,
but
4 is for sure.
More than 4, I think, is fine. We'll just stop there.
Yeah, 4 is fine.
Yeah,
because we don't want to date ourselves.
No, we don't.
Especially me. Oh, and Jason just cut out a little.
We are now as far from the prequels as the prequels were from the original trilogy.
Right.
Oh, can you hear me?
You're good now. You froze up for a minute. I don't know what it is, but yeah, you're good now.
Yeah. No, they said we're now as far from the prequels of Star Wars as the prequels were from the original Star Wars trilogy. So, yeah, if I have to live with that in my head, you have to as well.
Absolutely, my friend. And it's funny you mentioned Star Wars because there's going to be something somewhat in tonight's bizarre news. Is one of them has kind of got a Star Wars connotation to it. However, before we get into that, Jason, I have to tell everybody listening, and Jason knows this. Jason is a smart guy. He's an author. We're not going to talk about his books. I have 2 of them. You can find them on Amazon. The latest one was Dallas Fort Worth Monsters, right?
Metroplex Monsters, yeah.
Metroplex Monsters. He's got a ton out there. But Jason, let me tell everybody, if Jason was my publicist and marketing man, I probably would have fired him many years ago because he sucks at it.
I really do.
He doesn't promote himself or anything. So just a little favor for Jason. Outside of his writing of books, he's also a fantastic artist, as I mentioned with the 2 books, and he also does comics. So, Jason, I randomly found these. It's not that I like them the best. I just so many. I just kind of randomly picked them out.
Okay.
Just to show our audience a little bit of your talents. So, yeah. So we're going to start the show with talking up a little Jason.
Uh-oh.
And, just a little bit. And here's one of the first images. And this is by the hand of Mr. McLean. And yeah, look at that. That's Jason. That's your renditions, correct?
Yeah. The Goatman was a part of a card series, a postcard series I did years and years ago. Again, I don't want to put a date on it. That's the old Alton Bridge, Goatman. And then the one left was just something I did at a convention. Just happened to have a little fun.
I like that. You made a mention on Facebook that I don't know about this one or whatever you wrote. Is that like little Batman on top peering over? Is that the Joker and Batman rendition?
Yeah, it's a Batman Joker. Yep.
That'd be a cool tattoo, I think. Just saying. I like it. And here's another one that really pops because you're in the comic business. And let me take this other thing down real quick. I dig this. On the left, first of all, the colors pop. And of course, on the right, though, we have the Frogman of Loveland, Ohio. And by the way, everybody, go to zeropapers.com. You can find all Jason's work.
Well, unfortunately, that website is down at the moment. I need to bring it back up. Yeah, I had to move servers, so we're working. Yeah, these are all part of these cards that I did years and years ago. They're all they're out of print at the moment.
This is some of your older stuff, which is
Oh yeah.
fun, and I like that. So yeah, I'm just giving everyone an idea that you do a great job. Look at the colors; they pop. I certainly would pick that up. But the other thing that you've been venturing into, which I really think is cool, you're big into the comics, and you've written a comic strip, and you're in the process of doing other things with it.
Yeah.
And what I do like, and of course, I won't make it all about. I don't want to embarrass you any further, Jason. I just like to show you off just a little bit. What's the other one I'm looking for here? Well, first of all, I gotta put that back up. Get out of this and go to. Okay, now this. I don't know if you guys have phones, it might not pop, but if you're on TV or a tablet, this is kind of maybe I can make it bigger. Look at that. That's probably a comic strip. I don't know how old this is. I like the guy
Actually,
on the left.
Yeah,
Is that
so
old
this one's
again?
newer.
That's
Yeah, this
new,
is
okay.
Yeah, I'm doing a series. I'm just right now. I'm just literally taking pictures of them with my phone and putting them out as I finish the panels. But I'm doing a book, and it's so this is actually sort of part of the same series of cards that some of the artwork the Bigfoot may look a little familiar.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so this is Choopy Rules. I've done other work with this in the past, but I finally realized what I wanted to do with it. And this book is it's an homage to the older sort of outsider artwork that you get from like car magazines. And my father was a mechanic. I grew up in the shop. I grew up looking at Big Daddy Roth and a lot of this outsider art. So to sort of honor that tradition, this whole thing is being done by hand. Everything's done by hand. And I'm really doing it. I'm freehanding basically all of it.
Okay.
And so even like back now and adding gray to it as with alcohol markers, so that it just gets scanned in. So this is, you're from Detroit, so I think you know what I'm talking when I say this, right?
Yeah.
You know that these sort of outsider art magazines that you'd get, at that mechanics would pass around. They'd fax each other comic strips that were made. So this is it's for my dad who passed away years and years ago now. So it's sort of an homage to art, comics that were being done by people who had other jobs, right? And they didn't have a lot of the equipment, so they were just using what they had on hand. They were using Bic, ballpoint pens and stuff like that. So it's designed to look dirty, if that makes I'm not really using a lot of techniques on it because I want it to feel very raw, and so that's what I'm doing. I think I'm up to almost 20 pages so far, so we'll see how it goes. The problem is I probably have like 70 pages worth of material, but I know I'm going to do all of them. I'm trimming them down a little bit. So when that book comes out, I will let you know. I'll come on and let everyone know how to get it. But yeah, like I said, it's an homage to those older car magazines and the outsider art that you'd have with it. And so that's what I'm doing right now. But like I said, I am working though on some more books that are entertainment driven. Right now. Outside, so Siru Papers, the vlog is just a place for my brain to exist now, as
right. Okay.
Because I do think a lot of this stuff is serious, and so I'm putting it up there. Well, I've got 3 episodes that are going to drop probably at the end of this next week, and then I'm going to go down to 1 episode a month, and I will have in the descriptions everything. All of the reference material is going to be there because I don't want people to trust me on anything. I want them to go look it up for themselves. And we need to have better conversations with some of this stuff. So that's what I'm trying to do. But that also means I have a lot more time to write. I'll be doing some art. I'll be teaching some art classes here in the near future as well. So yeah, busy over here. So you may not see me online, but I'm around.
Oh, you're definitely around. Well, I talk to you almost once or twice a week, whatever. You're always in the loop with us. So,
yep.
Yeah. So for a lot of people, since you last been on, my channel's kind of gotten a lot bigger since last time you were part of it. So for people that don't know you, this is Jason McLean. And just one last quick one. This is cool too. I do like this. This is, you know what I like about this? I really like the figure on the right. That's a pretty hot looking.
Yeah.
And of course, there's writing in this. Everyone, I know you guys probably can't read it if you're on the phone. And there's, it's just a comic book, and all the comics, and this the one on the left. It's very cool. Something different, something I haven't seen in a comic, and I just wanted to show the people the other things that you're involved with, because I do think you're a talented guy, and I kind of wanted to show that off a little bit for you.
I appreciate that.
Before we get rolling here today. So Jason McLean, go check him out. Friend him on Facebook, and you can go access a lot of his cool stuff he's got. Artwork, this, that, and the other, and what else he's got going on. So yeah. So that's that for right now. Thanks to everybody for coming on in the chat. If I didn't say hi, I can't see Jennifer, Moondog, Werewolf, Keith, Amy, Cowboy, all you guys. Thanks for coming in. Melissa, hello. So yeah, so what I do on this show, you might have seen an episode or two. We do a little thing called Bizarre News.
Oh yeah.
Well, throughout the week, I'll come up with a couple things. They're really within like 2 weeks old. It's pretty fresh. Mm-hmm. Some of it is bizarre. Some of it's funny. Some serious. So what I do is I'll pick up the ones over the week that I thought were worthy of putting on a show. And we'll just kind of, I'll read the clipping, and I have pictures for a couple. And we'll just start that segment, if you will. And
please do.
See what we have here. So the first one, I got to get into this. Oh, and by the way, my favorite part of Bizarre News, my favorite part is right here.
What is awesome.
You like that?
I like that.
I got to come back to wearing a suit right after. If I could do that quick change behind the desk of BMR Late Night. So yeah, so I like that. It is pretty sweet. In fact, I like it so much. Alrighty then. So that's that, everybody. We're just do a little Bizarre News to get the show rolling. And this is pretty interesting because you had mentioned earlier, and I have a picture to show after I do the clipping here. It's about it's about robotics. I got to say this though, Jason. Usually with the girls, I always find a creepy AI article, and the girls are into the paranormal, they're into the cryptid.
Oh yeah.
But when I get into this AI stuff, you can literally see their mouths turn down. And they get really creeped out because I've done some creepy ones with like living skin put on robots.
Oh yeah.
So it does get bizarre, to say the least. And quite frankly, AI, maybe a little toward the end of the show, we get more involved with it, but it's creepy. In the wrong hands, it certainly could be evil in some cases. But anyway, this isn't so bad. I found it interesting that it's a company called NVIDIA Corp out of Santa Clara, California. Also a partner with Disney and Google. They unveiled a real lifelike AI-powered Star Wars looking droid called Blue.
Oh yeah, I heard about this.
Okay, and I'm going to read the little clipping and show you the picture in a moment. This is the droid you've been looking for. There's, of course, their press release. The California technology firm's latest creation is an intelligent robot that is not only technically impressive, but cute too. Revealed by NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang during the GTC 2025 keynote this past week, the robot, which looks like a cross between Wall-E, I don't know what that is, and R2-D2 from Star Wars. He waddled it up on the stage in a presentation as part of a demonstration of how AI and robotics will soon change the world. Goes on to say here, named Blue, the cute robot makes a series of sounds, reminiscent of the beeps and bloops typically made by R2D2 and other Star Wars droids, and can interact with humans via its head movements. It uses a new physics engine known as Newton, which is due for an open source release later this year. And then he quotes Wang says, "Can you believe you're looking at a complete real life simulation?" I guess he says this on stage during the presentation. This is how we're going to train robots in the future. Blue has 2 NVIDIA computers inside of it. The demonstration was currently impressive, revealing that it is seemingly already possible to build highly advanced AI powered robots that can walk around and communicate with humans. In practical terms, it's not clear what Blue can do in any useful sense, although there are reports suggesting that Disney is very interested in using the technology as a part of their theme park attraction.
Oh, absolutely, they will.
Yeah, and it goes on, blah, blah, blah. It says the robot will be available to everybody, making it possible for other companies and even individuals, the consumers, to build their own robotic creations.
No way that can go wrong.
Yeah, absolutely, that's going bad. That last part of that statement is bad. And really
Real bad.
quickly, I'm going to bring up the picture, because I did capture a picture of this thing. There's so much stuff to scroll through here. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, I saw this the other day. But by the way, you don't know what Wall-E is? You never saw the movie?
I ask Monica. Every movie she brings up, I have no idea what she's talking about. So
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, when they first did this, there's a video game, a Star Wars video game that came out a few years ago. Just forgot the name of it. Jedi Survivor, something like that. Anyway, and there was a droid that comes with you on your adventure, and it looks very similar to that. When they first released it, I thought, oh, they've done some sort of version of that robot. I cannot remember its name off the top of my head. So yeah, it's weird when you see that sort of pop up, because it's people don't understand how much, when we're just a few years away from this being a bigger shift in the economy than the Industrial Revolution. If you grew up in a time where they weren't teaching history anymore because they want us all dumb,
Right.
you may have missed how really completely destructive the industrial revolution was. It was it's considered one of the biggest upheavals in history. This is going to make it look like a cakewalk when this hits, because the thing is, all technology is dual use, right? It's a dagger with 2 edges. One could be really good. The problem is we're always going to use it for evil, or we're always going to screw ourselves over with technology. And the thing is, AI, we're probably to the point where we could probably put a kibosh on it, and it would be fine. Because what we need AI to do as a tool is great. The problem is we're looking for a master, and that's the problem. Is that it's like fire. Fire is a great tool, but a terrible master. That's what this is. We're playing with fire, and we're not trying to make a really good tool. We're trying to make something that can be our master, and that's the problem.
Yeah,
and it's not going to end well.
It's not, and in fact, it's a good point, because I think last week when we did, I think it was this show, I did a similar AI thing, and it's to the point where there's this company in Sweden. It's in Europe or somewhere out in the Alps, I think. I'm not sure. I forget. They're getting to the point where they're creating these AI technology where not only can it communicate with you, but give it the ability to process cognitively and think.
Yeah.
And reason. And it's funny you said the word master because it said, the AI robot, which would look, by the way, like us, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay. How may I help you today, master? Talking to me or you? We had $1
Oh, yeah.
million to blow. We bought one. I mean, there's going to be that much money, I imagine. But the fact that, and the one thing about this is the fact that these robots could read your emotions, Jason. They're talking about it can read your algorithm within your body, your heart rate, your blood pressure, when you're sad, when you're happy,
Yep.
when do you want to have an intimate relationship. And this thing can sense that and acts on it for you in order, quote unquote, to help you. But then we pondered the question, what if you have a bad day at work? And what if your wife or your husband pisses you off and you're mad at them and you get a thought, and this AI can pick that up and they go ahead and, as their servant to you, they do something to your loved one? I mean, I know it sounds far fetched, but I don't think it's that. If it gets to that advancement, and I think it can, I think it's a terrible idea. And I'm all for technology in the right hands.
I don't. So here's the thing. I think it's Isaac Asimov had that's Isaac Asimov. Yeah, the 4 Laws of Robotics, right?
Yeah.
Stuff like I'm not. That's actually not what I'm worried about with robots and AI. I'm not worried about them because the thing is, it's not that they will do that. It's that they will make certain that you never have to worry about anything again.
I'm sorry, you cut out there. You never have to worry about anything again, you said?
You'll never worry about anything again. It's you get in the pod, you eat the bugs. My concern is between AI and then once we get robotics to the point where they can replace we're looking at 90% of the workforce probably being replaced by AI in these machines. When that happens, they're going to find ways to make certain that we sort of walk off into the distance. We'll do it happily. We'll probably be full. We will probably, and again, I say we in the general, not me, but the general population is going to be, they'll be upset about it, but they'll say, look, we'll give you your own robot and it'll be fine. And it's not to get too graphic, even though it's a late night thing. Like there will be ways for these things to meet all of your needs, and there will be enough people who are depressed enough to take advantage of it.
Yes.
So we are. It's literally that scene in The Matrix, right, when he said we patterned the Matrix after the year 1999 because it was the height of your civilization. Because once we started to think for you, it was no longer your civilization. We are rapidly approaching a time when it's no longer our civilization. That's what I mean. AI is a wonderful tool, but it's a terrible master. We are looking, we in our attempt to ignore God, to hide from God, we keep trying to build a new God.
Yeah.
In our image, and that's what we're doing. There was a quick question I saw, and I went ahead and flagged it for you. I'll pop it up real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Boondock Mojo asked about the uncanny valley effect. And for those who don't know, there is this thing that was discovered over the last really 30 years, but it's been sort of figured out how to explain in the last 20 years in psychology. It's been known for a while. But the idea is that it really came to the forefront with CGI, because what they found is if your CGI is really good but not good enough, it freaks humans out. It's not just that it looks weird or that we don't respond to it. We are actively repulsed at this thing of it looks human, but it's not human enough. And so what people have found is it's easier to do things that look non-human or are overly exaggerated, right? Like did you ever see the Polar Express with Tom Hanks?
Actually, I did, yes.
Yeah. Everyone universally looks at that film and says, it's like, yeah, it's a cute, fun film, but the children in it are it freaks people out on a genetic level. People just want nothing to do with that animation. But if you look at something like The Incredibles, where they're more cartoony, there's no problem with that. So there's this thing that's called the uncanny valley, where it's like, as long as you're over here and everything's overly exaggerated, the brain's like, I get it, this is art, this isn't, we're fine. And if you can get it perfectly, right, cool, humans are fine. But there's this area they call the uncanny valley where it's good, but not good enough. It repulses humans. And there's been a lot of theories as to why that may be the case. But essentially, one of the people has suggested for robots, which goes back to this, to our topic, is that instead of creating androids, right, like Data from Star Trek, where where it's human, or the things from Westworld. Never actually I haven't seen the new series, don't care to. But if you make them look like C-3PO or R2-D2 or Johnny 5 from Short Circuit, right? Mm-hmm. Or Wally, if you make them look like something other than a human, then we don't get freaked out by them. In fact, if you exaggerate things like the eyes, in proportion to the body, we'll find them cute. We actually are really, really good at anthropomorphizing and empathizing with things that are non-human than anything else. In fact, it was actually an AI programmer who was teaching a class, pointed out in 100 years, we will look back at this time and laugh that we call it artificial intelligence, that it's actually just aggregated machine learning. But his professor did a thing in class where he said the problem with the Turing test, which is the test that came up by Alan Turing, who helped break the Enigma code, right? He was an early computer programmer. The Turing test was this thing that has been passed several times now. But it was a test of if you to say, hey, a computer may be sentient if it can pass this Turing test, which is, can you line up 10 or 20 people, have them and not know if they're talking to a human or a machine. And if they think they're talking to a human, then it's passed the Turing test, right?
Yeah.
The problem is that a lot of people point out humans are really, really good at anthropomorphizing and empathizing with things. So it's not that the machine was smart enough to pass the test. It's that we're really bad at determining what is and is not a human. And to prove his point, the professor pulled up a pencil. This is a pen. We'll use our imaginations, right? He pulled up a pencil and with googly eyes pasted to it and said, "This is Graphy." And Graphy really, really loves helping kids with their homework. And he would talk about Graphy for a minute and then just takes the pencil and snaps it in the middle of class. Half the kids in that class audibly gasped at it. Like he had just hurt a thing. And he goes, that's my point. Humans are really good at empathizing with non-living things. So in order to avoid us as humans being creeped out by robots, there's going to be this time where they're going to focus on robots that look very much like robots, but they'll look like cute robots. Be smaller. They'll have big cameras for eyes, or at least they'll look like it.
Not threatening.
Right. Or they'll look like a dog, right? Like the dog, like the Dyson. Yeah. They want them to look like things that we will empathize with without being threatened by them.
Yes.
Until they can actually release a real, true android-looking thing that passes for human.
Passes for human. And again, and I get everything you're saying today. And in fact, it was so interesting today because really briefly, then we'll move on from this topic. I was just talking with my brother. My brother's got a pretty cool job. He's an international union rep, and he covers all of the Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Ohio, representing the UAW international seat he's on, and negotiated their last contract with the president and a few others. And he was saying, man, I'm kind of glad I'm in the position I'm at today and got out of the actual working inside the plant, because he goes, Rob, man, in probably less than a decade, all of our plants are going to be all robotics.
Oh, yeah.
All the human workforce. Like my nephew works there.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to tell him go back to school and get a backup plan because you're only 30 years old, bro. You won't be working in the big three when you're 40.
Yeah. No, I told my kids for years, and only one seems to have actually listened on that. I said, here's the problem. By the time you're my age, there's only going to be three kinds of jobs: programming robots, fixing robots, or building robots, and that's it. Now, that's clearly an exaggeration.
Clearly, but you got to put that in their head and kind of give them a little scare tactic.
Yeah, I mean, because it's not. Because here's the problem. While I'm exaggerating, it's really not by much.
No, well, and I think you're absolutely right. Anything high tech, software, programming. My dad, I should listen to my dad, and I didn't want to do this years ago when I was going to college. He says, Rob, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to think I'm crazy. You got to get a degree in computer science. And this is back when I was 20, 18, going to college.
Back when computers used punch cards.
And we didn't even have the computers. We didn't even have the computer. When I graduated college, I still had to typewrite my papers.
Yeah.
They just came out with the word processor when I graduated. I had to go use microfiche and read books, actually.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes, I'm telling you, you never heard of this. And the computer science was offered at U of M. He says, just take it. By the time you're 50, you can retire with more money you know what to do with. And you know what? He was right.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's the way our society works. Should have listened to Daddy, but Dad, that's so boring, I said to him.
Yep.
But anyway, we're going to move on. I think we did a good job with that. It was interesting. Now, this one here, Jason, this really isn't bizarre news. This is a little different because this is an email that I got because it was because I usually get emails for cryptid and paranormal stuff that I do on another show, right? On Friday, I do these. But this isn't nearly as long, but this is unrelated. And I'm just going to go on and just get into it because it kind of, I was like, wow, really? But it is kind of bizarre at the same. It's all bizarre too. And it's just from this young lady. And in the top of the email, it reads, too close shaves with death. I think she botched that up. But I'm doing it exactly how she typed it. And so this is the email I received. Rob, it says, not paranormal or cryptid, but wanted to email you as I heard you talk about your very realistic dreams and sleep paralysis, along with your attempts at astral projecting. This is Sherry from Detroit. And I know right off the bat, she watches the show because I've talked about all those things, right?
Yeah, right.
So she goes, this was March 30th of 1996. I was carjacked by multiple carloads of a rival gang. I was beaten in the head with a club from my anti-theft device on my car. I was stabbed behind my right ear and my back. I remember hearing gunshots. Then all these guys jumped back in their cars and mine as they stole my car and took off. I thought for sure they were going to shoot me and just finish me off. Then, as she says here, Blanco, a bouncer at the 51st Trumbull Bar, which, by the way, again, I've been there back in the day, came and helped me into the bar to take care of me and call the police. I felt that I was slowly dying. The paramedics came and at first were going to take me to Holy Cross. Again, it's a hospital I'm familiar with. Until I moved my head and my scalp fell into my face. In the ambulance, I kept wanting to sleep. They kept me awake. I looked up and my Aunt Sissy was there. She took my hand and told me I wasn't going to die. I had to fight, and I had a lot of good left to do in the world. I remember laughing because Aunt Sissy has been dead for over a decade at this time. I could hear the paramedics working on me, asking each other, who was she talking to? This is Sherry. They heard her talking to her aunt who's been deceased. At Mount Sinai, again another hospital I'm familiar with, I was admitted with a closed skull fracture, damage to my right kidney, 17 staples to my head, 45 stitches to my lower back, and another 11 staples to the back of my head. Was this my aunt that helped me survive, or was I hallucinating because of my head injury? I don't know. I've always looked for the answers, but I was glad to find your show when you talk about such things, not quite like this, but maybe you can give me some advice. Can we dream about things before they actually happen? Can you give me any advice? Cherry from Detroit. Cherry, Cheri. How about
Sherry?
That? Yeah, Sherry. Yeah.
Yep.
How about that?
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack on that one, man. Jeez.
Back there, man. Oh, by the way, I have no picture on that one. And if I did, I wouldn't show it.
Yeah, no. Wow, a lot to unpack on that one. Okay, so there's actually two questions happening there, right? The first one is, did she actually see her aunt, right? What was the aunt's name again? I'm terrible.
Sissy.
Sissy, yeah. Reason Linda kept popping into my head. So the first question is, was she actually speaking with Sissy? And then the question about dreams. The dream thing, I think, is, let me address that first, because that's kind of fast.
Yeah.
And easy. I think the answer is sometimes yes. I mean, the simple fact of the matter is, we are supernatural beings. I mean, just flat out, that's what we are. We are immaterial bodies. That's what we are. Sometimes dreams are prophetic. Sometimes they reveal things about ourselves, and sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, right? As the saying goes. So yes, can we dream about things and have them happen in the future? Yeah, it happens. It happens a lot, actually. As far as, was that Sissy? That's the problem, is we don't know. What I will say is, there is a very, very, very long history of being near death, whether, from a traumatic injury or from an illness, and seeing loved ones that had passed on talk to them, right?
Yeah.
There is, at this point, there is no reason to believe that is not a real phenomena. It is a real thing. People say, well, it's just hallucinations. Anytime they are trying to remove the possibility of the supernatural, because it makes us modern people, because we're so much smarter than everyone else throughout history, it makes us uncomfortable to deal with the idea that that there is a supernatural, right? So we look for quote unquote rational reasons, like, oh, it was trauma, it was psychology. And the line between psychology and the supernatural is not as hard and fast as we'd like it to be. So yeah, the simple fact of the matter is, I've never met a hospice nurse or a nurse, or known anyone who's worked with people in hospice, again, even including my own family, where there wasn't a conversation about people speaking to loved ones while they were near death, right? It's just a flat out real thing. Now, is that your loved one? There is
debatable.
That's debatable. Here's why. There are other cultures that, like, I'm not one who believes in ghosts per se, right? I believe in spirits, different thing, and not to get too far afield in the conversation, but there's a tradition out of the Hebraic period. And we see it actually talked about in the Bible when Peter's released, or when he's taken out of prison by an angel, right?
Okay. There's
this concept that we would call them guardian angels. It's probably the best way to think about it, right? That when a person's born, an angel is either created or takes the shape of that person and is sort of with them. And so it was their belief that when someone dies, that this spiritual being that takes your face or in your appearance could visit their loved ones upon their death, right? It's a sort of a complicated concept, but essentially, your guardian angel looks like you, which is why people say, "Hey, I saw you, but you weren't there." You've run across that, right? Where people get calls by their loved ones who just recently died. Like within 30 minutes after they've died, they make a phone call or they talk to them. That would be sort of similar to the idea that they had. So it's possible that instead of it being Sissy per se, it was her. You call them guardian angels, right? It was Sissy's guardian angel coming to her in her time of need. Alternatively, it could have just been her. It could have been Sissy. I can't say which one it is.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not opposed. People say, well, hold on, you're a Christian. You don't believe in I don't think we should reach out to the dead. But there's a difference between us reaching out and them coming to us.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I can see that.
I could see God saying, "Hey, you're pointing to basically someone's like, hey, your daughter, your granddaughter, your niece, or whatever is in some trouble. I need you to go help her." I have no problem with that idea, or because again, the world's bigger than I am, and you know what the Bible doesn't have a lot of? That kind of stuff. Meaning, the Bible spends far less time on the supernatural as far as how that actually works than we would like it to.
Right.
It's far more practically driven. So when people say, "Well, it's not in the Bible," neither are kangaroos, right? It doesn't matter. That's not what it's there for. It's to get us in a relationship with God. It's not a manuscript as to how all of the supernatural works. Was it Sissy? I don't know. Was it maybe an angel? I don't know. But what I know is, I think it was a spiritual being that was speaking to her.
It was something that came to her and helped her through that traumatic time.
And that's all that matters. Is that something?
No, that was right.
Yeah. Is that she was there to help, and if it could even be that it's just a random angel that took form because they knew that was the form that would be the most comforting to her in that event. So, whichever one it is, right? Pick your three. Sissy's guardian angel, random stun angel 3 taking on that form, or it was Sissy. It's irrelevant.
Right.
That was not a hallucination. It wasn't some sort of trauma. There was a supernatural being there to help comfort you through this period of trauma. And story is very common. It's very, very common. And we should take some comfort in that, because it means there is an afterlife. There is a here beyond. And that's something we need to be very cognizant of. Like, this is not weird. Like, when your heart stops beating, it don't end here. So
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do believe that we all have a guardian angel, and I was taught that well before I even went off to school or church or learned about religion. My parents always told me that. And I believe that to this day, that I've had a guardian angel help me throughout things. I've never had an NDE or anything close, but I felt that presence every once in a while. And I think she asked me that question because of some of the dreams that I've had, which are very vivid, and I'm always lost. I'm in a familiar place and I get lost. And my father's passed on always leads me out, and I wake up and the day is fine. I'm not suggesting that's anything like what Sherry said, but I'm thinking that's where she probably picked up on a little of that. T-Bone had a quick question.
Yep.
I think you kind of answered. How do we tell the difference? And I imagine that's between the guardian angel, the spirit, or the ghosts, I guess.
Yeah, there's no, in a situation like what is being described, there's no way to know. We don't know. And ultimately, that just has to be a mystery. Again, if someone's near death and they're seeing loved ones coming to them, people, again, the question of we should test all spirits 100%. The problem is, you're not really in a position to do that, and they're not there. No spirit should be giving you wisdom of the ages. I'll just say it that way, right? Okay. And we're not supposed to reach out to things. Anything that can talk to you can lie to you. But when we're talking about people who are in these near-death experiences or are in the process of dying, it really just seems like they're just there to comfort you during that time. Like so that doesn't really feel like something a evil intent would do. They're not going to waste their time on someone who's in the process of dying. They will, again, That being said, you're reaching out to something will answer back, and you don't. And that's never a good idea.
I would heed that advice because I'll tell you a quick story. We'll move on to the third installment of the show of the bizarre news.
Mm-hmm.
I've always thought it was kind of odd. I never ever in my lifetime, I've never experienced. Well, of course, Cindy, my girlfriend passed away.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as someone that I just like, my father, he was the first one that was my blood, and my dad, that was the first traumatic death I ever encountered. Yeah. Grandma and grandpa's would come and go. I mean, not to be trite about it, but yeah, it's
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
And I never ever thought about contacting my dad. I never thought, hey, Dad, how you doing? Did you make it to heaven? I've never asked him in my mind, in prayer or thought, meditation, can you give me a sign? Never thought that. And my dad has shown me many signs that I know he's been around. And I'm not going to get into that now because we have a bunch of the show left. Yeah. But yeah, I know. But I had my girlfriend, a friend, Sandy, who her mom passed away. They were very tight, very close. This is like 5 years ago. And we talk a lot on the phone. And she's always like, Rob, I keep trying to tell my mom, to come see me, visit me. I miss her so much. Please tell me you're okay. But she was so repetitive and just so it consumed your day wanting to communicate with your mom. And it got to the point where I think she needed to get some sort of other help. Not that she was mentally unstable, but it was just she didn't care about her husband, the kids. This is all she talked about, which was to me unhealthy.
Yeah.
And then she finally told me she had a vision of her mother, but then this vision of her mother, she got the sense it wasn't her mom. It was something else, something nefarious. Yeah. So that kind of goes back to your point. Evil's out there. And if they prey upon your fear. They prey upon what you want.
Yeah.
So they will present themselves as something different and trick you. So that's why you probably suggest it's not up to us to go seek them out. If they're they need us, they will seek us out. Kind of the gist of the story.
Right. And I tend to think, so again, this is a very long conversation. I don't want to eat up the entire episode with it.
No.
But long story short, most things are about authority. I think the problem is when you reach out, you have opened a door that is supposed to be closed. If something's supposed to come to you, God will allow it to happen. But if you reach out, that's the problem is you don't know what you're getting, right? I tend to think of reality like a school with locked doors, right? They're locked from the outside, but not from the inside. And outside every door is a big white panel van with free candy scrawled on it. And, and that's the problem is the things that are supposed to come to you, like, are already in the building and they will be sent by i.e. God. But you start opening those doors, things are going to come in for you. And the problem is, I think we don't even realize we're doing it half the time because we don't really think about the world in that manner. Does that make sense?
I get where you're going.
Yeah, and so not to, again, I'll be vague. There was a person who was doing research on a particular cryptid, and she was talking about how she was getting she knew they were there every time she went out at night. And I'm like, here's my problem. Aside from, I'm trying to keep it vague so that people don't connect anything. It's like, I have a family of rabbits that live in my backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And they're out all the time. They're not there every time I open my door. If you're researching the same spot every night and you're seeing these things every single time, I don't think that it's the cryptid you think it is. Yeah. It is something that you are reaching out for something, and something is willing to be there. Professional hunters don't see deer every time they go out into the woods, right? If you're looking for something, something is always willing to comply, and that is very, very dangerous. Particularly when you start messing with the supernatural. Again, you should never go out there for anything, because something's always willing to be whatever you want it to be. And the problem is it never ends well in my experience, and historically speaking.
Well put. And again, that is a topic, man, that we could probably wrap on for 2 hours.
Oh, easily.
But it's so fascinating. And
I did see a thing about let me see if I can find it real quick.
Yeah.
NDEs and alien abduction. Where'd it go? I probably whatever. Anyway, so the question was about NDEs, and there's this big connection between people who've had near-death experiences and quote-unquote alien abductions. I would simply respond with one quote from the wife. I can never remember his name. The guy who wrote Communion, Strieber.
Whitley
Strieber, yeah. His wife wrote, I forget, I think it was in a book or something, or a magazine. She said that she believed that these alien abductions have something. And her quote was something to do with what we call death. That's her. Those are her words. I tend to think anything that isn't necessarily government driven, meaning some sort of psyop or whatever by the government. I think alien abductions aren't alien abductions. I think they are clearly transcendental events. We're not dealing with Mork from Ork. We are dealing with something that's much older, something they're the spirits of the nations that we've dealt with for thousands and thousands of years.
right. I can buy that.
Yep. So again, doesn't mean there aren't physical craft out there. Doesn't mean, and again, the problem is
not at all.
Yeah, but it's just
not at all. Right. There are non-human craft out there.
Yeah.
Probably. But then again, we can't get into this in your one book that I have about the alien, theory that you have, which again, that's another episode.
Oh yeah.
Jason McLean is full of information, you guys, and thanks for coming on, Jason. And thanks for everybody for coming on in today. In fact, if you're new here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Michiganrob on YouTube. Thank you, Scott, for 5 new pirate members, our mateys. Also, along with that, I got a special shout out to I got 5 more mateys that joined us with who was it? T-Bone. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you guys for doing that for us. Again, whatever you donate, membership-wise or super chat, not expected, but certainly appreciated. You know what I do with it? I throw it on my cable bill. We got we got to get all the top of the line equipment to run these shows, these streams. So we do appreciate that. So with that being said, thanks everybody. Hit the like button today, sometime during the show. So we're going to move on to item 3 I've got. And this is a pretty interesting. It's kind of, I'll just read it and go on. I do have a picture of this chick, this woman. BBC's Paranormal explores the case of Britain's last witch.
Okay.
So I was interested when I saw that. I'm into that. March 28th of 2025. A portrait of Helen Duncan, journalist of CN Ellery, investigates the case of Scottish medium Helen Duncan. Duncan, who was born in Callander, Scotland on November 25th, 1897, maintains the dubious distinction of being the last person to be imprisoned under the 1935 Witchcraft Act. That's right, everybody. There was a Witchcraft Act back in the day. A practicing medium who would often participate in seances. Duncan was said to have communicated with the spirits of the dead and often produce physical manifestations made of ectoplasm. In one case during World War II, she claimed to have contacted the spirit of a sailor who had died aboard the HMS Barham. It later transpired that this particular ship had indeed sunk, but that the news had been kept secret as part of an effort to mislead Germans. Once word of this got around, Duncan became even more popular and in demand for her services than ever.
One would imagine.
Absolutely. That being said, Jason, there was growing concern among the authorities that her methods were fraudulent. This came to a head in 1944 now when she was arrested following a police raid of a seance she was attending. She was imprisoned for several months on the basis that she had been falsely claiming to have produced spirits, which was considered a crime under the Witchcraft Act of 1735. It wasn't long afterward that the act itself was repealed by the government. In 1956, she was arrested yet again for another raid on a seance, and although she was not charged, she died at her home upon release from jail not long afterward. According to witnesses at the seance, Marcy Birdsong stated that she had been killed by the impact of ectoplasm snapping back into her body, as she claims, when the light was unexpectedly turned on during the seance. Marcy Birdsong again says that Helen spoke in an odd language that sounded foreign, almost Latin to her, and that Helen's body contorted. When police arrived, all went back to normal. Again later, after her release from the jail, Helen died. Yeah, that's, I don't know, Jason. That's kind of hearsay. I don't, something back this time period. I looked it up. I couldn't find nothing else on it.
Yeah. So there's a lot there.
It's five. It's two paragraphs is like compounded into 2-hour shows, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like there's sort of a lot in that whole article. So things like ectoplasm, great example of how sort of time locked we are because we don't really have history, right? Hold on.
Yeah.
Do we have the world's most powerful psychic joining us?
Yeah.
Oh, hey. Guess who showed up, guys?
The Church of Dogman, the leader, the founder.
Yep.
Donnie Cho.
The final boss has arrived.
Yes, nice. The final boss. And, of course, world's most powerful psychic.
Of course.
No, the most powerful psychic in the paranormal scene.
I'm sorry, in the paranormal scene.
Yes.
So have you had your ectoplasm snap back to you, Donnie?
Yeah, were you listening, Donnie? I'm sure you were as we went.
No, yeah, you guys were killing it. Yeah.
I know you were. Thanks for coming on.
I came on actually for a very specific thing, gentlemen.
All right.
For both of you.
Oh, no.
I don't think you saw the episode I did with Brandi and Tex and Randy. Paul wasn't there. This past Wednesday. But, you know the Patterson Gimlin film?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I may have with me, gentlemen, the Asian version of the Patterson Gimlin film.
Okay.
Really?
I'm actually downloading the video right now. I'm waiting for it. It says processing, but I don't know if any progress is being made. So while we wait, how's it going, guys?
Well, we were just talking about ectoplasm snapping back.
Yeah.
So historic and Donnie, back me up on this one. Up until
I'm gonna do that thing, Jason, while we're at it. So I'll
yeah. Actually, yeah. Get out of here. So up until like what they used to call phantasmagorias, right? In the in this late 19th century, before there were films and television shows and things like that, right? They would tell stories by they would have these essentially light projectors. I have my Spider-Man keychain I just found on my finger because I like to fiddle with things. Trusty pen. So they would have these these sort of lights that would be cast on, and people would have, creepy story time, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is where the idea of ghosts manifesting only partially and being translucent comes from. Because up to that point, every account in every culture that we have, the spirits appear physical, right? They just sort of... it's like they're there. And in fact, most ghost stories that I've heard of people actually see these, they're like, yeah, there's a thing right there, like in there in these accounts. So the idea of things being translucent, that doesn't pop into the literature until about the 19th century. But it's the same thing with ectoplasm. It isn't until the Spiritist movement of the late 19th century, early 20th century, that we start getting these ideas of quote-unquote ectoplasm and things reaching out of the human body during seances and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I don't even know what ectoplasm is even supposed to be.
it's, well, so a lot of conversation on that. The idea that was sort of produced is it's some sort of spiritual fluid that is produced by the body. It's literally what it's supposed to be. And there are photographs. People are like, well, hold on. We have photographs of these during these seances of them having of ectoplasm, and everyone sort of proved it was just cotton balls. Like it was, again, we can't. One of the things we can't rule out of this whole math is both showmanship and and being scam artists, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, a lot of stuff was just sort of created out of whole cloth to generate believability and to take money from people. So the problem with ectoplasm is nothing like that is described in any culture up until literally the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century. With
Here's
the
the thing.
Spiritist movement.
I've heard numerous eyewitness accounts, firsthand accounts of people being like haunted, having their home haunted, being paranormally attacked or oppressed. But in none of those stories was a person ever like, "Yo, man," and then I got hit with all this ectoplasm.
Yep.
It just splattered in my face. What was going on? I've never heard a single account of anyone just getting like
No. Slime.
drenched with ectoplasm.
Yep. No
Where'd that
slime
ectoplasm
from
at?
Ghostbusters. Yeah. Exactly.
It's
So,
only from
yeah.
those old timey like spiritualist photos where they had mentioned ectoplasm.
Yeah, and that's where where
Yeah.
it comes from. It starts in the late 19th century with the Spiritist movement,
Yeah.
and what it was, and when you stop thinking about it, is the move towards science as a worldview, not just as a tool, but as a worldview, requires sort of an elevation of how we approach the supernatural. So it's like, well, hey, here's this. We're going to create this scientific word, right? What's the thing, Donnie? You and I talk about all the time, the Star Trek words, right? That here we're going to talk about quantum this.
Oh yeah,
It's
the tech jarble.
yeah, it's the 19th
Yeah.
century version of the quantum torpedo. That's all it is. It's just you throw on something that sounds scientific. Now you now have credibility. That's what happened in the 19th century. So I would say I would doubt that this particular witch's death was caused by snapping back of her ectoplasm. That would be my ruling. I would doubt it.
So thanks, guys. I had to step away, as I was telling you earlier, Jason. I would have to.
Yeah.
So we're bottom line with this, kind of whatever, kind of.
Yeah.
Not
Well, it's
real.
Britain, and we fought a war, so we didn't have to care.
Absolutely. I got two more of these left, and Donnie, you're waiting on this upload, so I'm kind of.
Oh no, it's
excited.
done. I'm ready to show it. Actually,
Are you ready to show it? What is
Yeah.
it regarding Bigfoot? Because my last one is kind of a Bigfoot one.
Yeah. Why don't we do it? Why don't we
do it there for the grand?
Yeah, let's do it after
finale?
the.
We'll
Okay,
get for the
let's
grand
save it for the
finale.
grand finale.
These next two ones I do want to get through and do them, and then we'll have Donnie. We'll give it to Donnie's show. Hello, Mr. Castro. So here's one. I got a picture of this one. You guys, this is fascinating, and I don't know. We'll get our takes on it. Black hole in the Pacific Ocean, March 18th, 2025. An image of a strangely black and featureless anomaly captured on Google Earth has been gaining renowned attention this week. Photographed by a satellite in the middle of the expansive waters of the Pacific Ocean, dated back in 2021, is a very perplexing oddity that has been doing the rounds again this week on social media. resembling a pitch black triangular formation miles from anywhere in the ocean. The phenomenon has sparked various theories about space-time and anomalies, secret projects, and even alien visitors. Some even suggested that it was a large opening in the bowels of the Earth. What it actually shows is an island that is completely covered with trees, which happen to be so densely packed together that they appear as a single black shape on the satellite image. However, oceanography firm Pacifico Anomalous researcher Derek Smits stated that, albeit true, an island does exist in the longitude and latitude coordinates. However, after researching this part of the Pacific, the island seems to appear and reappear without any trace of actually being present. Not a single trace of evidence exists of its physicality, nor any anomalous interference states Smits. Smits did note, however, when the island is present, it measures less than a total mile in measurable size. Smith's team has explored and researched this area since 2019. Interesting, and I do have the Google Earth photo of this, which is kind of interesting here. This is from Google Earth. Bizarre news. Well, I made it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I remember this photo.
you remember seeing that, Don?
Yeah,
Don?
I remember seeing that.
So what I find bizarre about this, you guys, is it comes, according to this company, this firm, this research firm, it comes and goes. It's present. It's not present. This firm has seen it, not seen it, investigated it. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I don't know much about the
T-Bone's right.
ocean. Sounds like
It does.
Lost, he said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fact, fiction, it made the news.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know.
Well, the fact that it made the news probably cuts in its credibility. Let's be honest.
Let's be honest. Unless it made bizarre news.
Yeah, exactly. Well, now it's hit the big time. Well, I think there's only one real obvious answer here, and that is giant lion turtle.
Oh, yeah. First thought I had. Oh, by the way,
There's
here's that.
only Donnie and like 3 other people got that joke, but I'm gonna sit on it, and I love it. Keep moving.
Yeah.
I was thinking. I think it's a UFO or USO, like the underwater kinds.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
That's what I think it is.
Well, again, giant lion turtle. That's what I'm saying. Same
That
thing.
sounds-
USO.
From space.
well,
I kind of got that now, Jason. We'll move on from that one. I just thought it was interesting.
No, it is. Again, the question goes back to because it clearly pop the picture back up real quick.
Okay.
Because it is clearly an island, right? You can see the water
Yes.
moving around it, like it's definitely not shape, and you can kind of see around the edges where you can see like the beach, right? So I get what they're saying about the image. The question just comes down to the credibility of this quote unquote company that claims that they've been researching out there, and like sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. Is this? I guess the problem becomes: is this actually a company that's doing this, or is this just some random nut job on the internet pulling one on Google on the newswire? Because let's face it, it's not like the newswires are doing anything to research anything anymore, right?
Yeah. They're
So-
just looking for views and clicks, and that probably was clickbait.
Yeah.
And something that I thought was interesting to pull up. So I did the Google Earth image is distinctly it's there. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't try looking it up. So we'll see. Maybe the thing that needs to be done is investigate this firm and see if they, as you said, Jason, are even still operational.
Are they even a thing? Like, so is this something that exists, or is this just another? Is this just another case of some story being created cloth that then gets put out there for clicks, and now it's floating out there like it's a real thing when it's just a hoax, right?
Yep.
So, but I mean, I would be interested, like, if the company's legit and they're like, look, sometimes we're there, or when we're investigating, when we're going out doing whatever it is they do, like sometimes this island is clearly there and sometimes it's not. I'd like to know if that's true, because that'd be really interesting.
If that was true, that would be fascinating, at the least. So the final bizarre news, and I have a picture of this as well, and I found this interesting, Jason, because the person mentioning this we're both familiar with, and I'm sure Donnie is as well. And I've seen this before. I don't think this is current, because you know how we are with the cryptids, right? We've seen many photos. Baby Bigfoot image steers up debate and controversy. And I'll show the picture when I'm done here. A highly questionable photograph. Thank you, Maggie. That's awesome.
Cheers, Maggie. Thank you.
Maggie's great. Thanks, Maggie. Anyways, a highly questionable photograph of an alleged juvenile Bigfoot has been met with considerable skepticism March 26th. While the subject of the photograph is certainly easy to make out, there's no getting away from the fact that the supposed Bigfoot looks like a child in a costume. And before I go on, I think you and I are the same, and probably Donnie too, although I've never discussed it with Donnie. I'm not a big photo guy. I'm not. I don't care what you show me. I'm more into the vocalizations. If you get a recording, I think that's far more interesting. And that's just me. But anyway, moving forward, we know what you're thinking. It's Chaka from Land of the Lost, recently quoted by Lauren Coleman, Bigfoot researcher, of who has appeared on many a cable TV program in the distance.
Oh, yeah.
Coleman goes on to say, my gut reaction and the team members that I am associated with believe that this is a genuine photo. Now, coming from him, I'm like, okay, I'm going to read further. However, the possibility of a juvenile Sasquatch is still on the table. Yet we have questions. We are more apt to believe it to be that of the mysterious little people. We still cannot confirm. More investigation needs to be done. So, Lauren Coleman, I kind of give him some cred. Don't know him, never met him. He's coming on my show in 2 months, by the way. So I'm going to ask him about this.
Yeah, no, he's a good guy.
So here is the photo in question. And here it is, guys. Oh, that's Donnie. Okay.
That's a video, actually. That was
that's cool, Donnie. I hit
you almost spoiled it.
I hit the wrong button, so I knew Here we go. So I think I might have seen this prior to March 26th, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, if you look at that, to me, it looks like a dude in a costume. Coleman suggested perhaps it's not a little person. Never seen a little person. So looking at the photo, and again, I'm bad with photos, guys, and that's why I kind of not like showing pictures, but I thought this was Lauren Coleman. After all, I kind of do respect, so I wanted to do it. So there's the photo. You've seen it enough. I'm going to pull it down. I take it, right? So, yeah, what you think about that article, that story? Bigfoot, little person, little juvenile Sasquatch?
Yeah. Unfortunately, this is one of those things where, again, let's assume for the sake of the conversation that this is a legitimate photograph, meaning that the person who is responsible for the photograph did not go out of their way. They did not hoax it, right? I tend to find, like, again, depending on the provenance of certain things, like if there's a reason to believe that the person taking the photo wouldn't have faked it, and there's no reason for someone to pull a prank like that on them. One moment. Sorry, Donnie's psychic powers are leaching through the StreamYard. I'm always allergic to them. Then we have one of three possibilities, right? Assuming, and we'll take one of them off the table, which is that this was someone trying to somehow prank the person taking the photograph. So let's take that one off the plate. So if this is legitimately weird thing, I don't know how you could make a determination whether it's a juvenile Bigfoot or a little person.
From that photo, I cannot.
Yeah, I mean, there's just it's a great picture. The problem is, I'm where you are on photographs at this point. It's like, unless I have the name of the person who took the photo, and they are swearing on an affidavit, and there's probably a lie detector test taken within the first 6 months of the photo being released. I'm kind of out on photos at this point. There's too much. It's too easy to fake something, right?
Right.
At this point, for us to trust photographs at this point, they're just unfortunately that's just the case, and I wish it wasn't. But unless you're willing to come forward and say, "This was me," I'm signing in a notarized affidavit, which now puts you in a threat of fraud. And you take a lie detector test saying, at least indicating whether or not you're being truthful. It's just a photograph. And unfortunately, I'm sorry, like that doesn't mean anything anymore.
No.
Because of how easy things are to fix. So again, even giving it the benefit of the doubt and saying it's legitimate, I don't know if you could say it's one or the other, one way or the other.
Even if it's legitimate, I get it. You can't say it's a juvenile Sasquatch, a little person. I've never seen one. We've all seen photos, and somebody's going, of course, say it's just too clear, right, to be something.
Yeah.
We're all familiar with the blob squatch, or which is totally. I don't even like that term anymore, because as far as I'm concerned, you can go back 20 years. Half these photos to me are suspect at best. It's up to your perception.
Yeah.
It could be something. I think they're all something if you're not hoaxing it, but what is it? We just don't know. Do we really? I mean,
yeah. And again, it goes back to, so let me throw this little monkey wrench in there, no pun intended, but I'll take credit for it. Is how do we know the quote unquote little people aren't just juvenile Bigfoot, right? Like there's I forget the name of it. It starts with an A. There's this cryptid that was sort of that the loggers talked about from 100 years ago. They were described as like monkeys that slightly larger monkeys that were throwing sticks and things at the loggers. And so of course they come down to us as no, it's not Ape Canyon. It's a specific type of cryptid.
okay.
And the thought that occurs to me is, why are we assuming it's not just a younger, Bigfoot? Why wouldn't Bigfoot take, particularly if you're in an area where you have trees that are very large, why wouldn't they let their young basically hang out in trees while they're off hunting or foraging or whatever they're doing? And of course the loggers come by, and so the infant or the juveniles are just throwing things to drive them off until the parents can come back. That's a reasonable explanation for this phenomenon that's being described. So my problem is, even if it is legitimate, saying whether or not or trying to determine if it's a little person or a juvenile Bigfoot at this point is almost pedantic, because we don't even know if the little people and Bigfoot are two different things. Could be that the little people are always just juvenile Bigfoot in this context, right? At least in the context of North America. And we don't know where the lines are drawn between, like, say, the Fae and these other things, because we tend to just put everything in a box.
Yeah. And even so, I mean, who's to say do we know what a juvenile Bigfoot is? That could have been a full-grown one that just happens to be smaller, a different tribe, a different clan, whatever, right? I mean, and again, I thought it was interesting. I wasn't even going to do that until I saw Lauren Coleman chime in. And it's something maybe I'll ask him. I think he's coming on end of June. But yeah. So that's it for the bizarre news. Now, Donnie, thank you for coming on, Donnie, has presented something to us that with Donnie, though, I don't know what this is going to be, because I know Donnie. But
again, this past Wednesday, I watched it with Brandi and Tex and Randy.
Yeah.
And they all agreed that of all the video evidence that we've seen of like a purported cryptid sighting, this might be the best one.
Really? Well, I'm interested in
okay.
I guess
so let me explain the background.
So Johnny, do your thing, and then in fact you can pop the video, because I know you have access, right?
Yeah.
When you're ready.
Access,
so, Johnny, the floor is yours.
So you guys are familiar with the Orang Pendek?
Of course.
Yes.
The Orang Pendek is basically the Indonesian version of Bigfoot, except instead of Bigfoot being particularly big, you guys were just talking about like a mini Bigfoot.
Yeah.
An orang pendek is like a Bigfoot, except it's like it
Small.
never gets more than like 5'8". It's like there's a lot of sightings, a lot of credible sightings, and a lot of people have said it. The height is anywhere between 3 foot to like 5'8", right?
Yeah.
So this, and it's only spotted in the island of Sumatra. So this video is a GoPro video of a bunch of dirt bikers in Sumatra, like riding trails, and they think they caught what a lot of people believe is the actual orang pendek, the mini Bigfoot. So I'll play it.
Johnny, don't roll that just yet, because I would hit Maggie up right quick. Thanks for the super sticker. Just really quickly, Maggie, who's from Australia, goes on to say, in Australia, there's a smaller, hairy man separate from the yowie that only gets to be about 5 foot, fully grown.
Yeah,
So
the brown jacks. Yeah, the brown jacks.
and again, good point. Thanks, Maggie, for that. And
Well,
yeah.
so again, the question then becomes, how do we know they are separate from Yowie? Right. That's the problem. Until we have one of both, we don't really know. That people describe them, but it could just be that in Australia, the juveniles are a little bit more precocious, shall we say? You know.
Nice selection of words. So thank you for that. Thanks, Donnie, for
All right. So
filling
you
us
guys
in
ready?
prior to the screening. Yes.
Are you guys
I'm
ready to see this? Okay,
Pop
here we
it.
go.
Yep.
Let's do this.
So they're riding. It's going to come out of nowhere. Watch. There it is. It's running away.
Oh wow.
Now they're riding after it, right? On their dirt bikes. Yo, this thing moves fast. They're riding down the trail and they see it all the way down the trail running.
Oh, there it is. I see
And
it.
then
Oh,
it dips
wow.
into the tall
Now,
grass.
that is very quick.
Now, these guys get off. See, one of the things that I like about this particular video is that the reaction is like natural. This is what you would expect to happen if a bunch of dirt bikers saw a cryptid. They would try to chase it, stop. They get off their bikes. There it is. You see it?
Oh yeah, look at that.
It's like carrying a stick if you look very carefully.
Yeah. Stick and or spear.
One guy takes a spill even.
And I will say it's not staged because these guys are just out doing their thing on their bikes, right?
Yeah, they're just out
It's all
doing their
natural.
thing.
Look at that. Oh, that's a pretty good image there, man.
Yep.
You can see.
And it knows it can't outrun them, so it dips into the tall grass.
Wow, I like that. No, I like that, Donnie.
Yeah, this video's been around for a long time, and I'm personally, I think it's legit. There's no reason to think that it's not. Unlike other things where it's like, okay, some dude in a costume or a puppet or whatever could be used, right? Because I mean, have we seen? Oh, hey, here's a video of an alien looking inside of a window, and it's clearly just some dude with a puppet, right?
Yeah.
The thing about this video is that's when this came out years ago. It came out just before the whole AI thing really blew up. So we can't really chalk it up to CGI or AI or anything like this. So I think this is legit. And the thing that I like about it is the way it moves, its proportions. It's not exactly what you would. Again, it's not how you would. It's not what you'd think if you were trying to fake it. This is just. It's really, really interesting, and I'm personally opinion that orang pendek is and probably other little people are surviving Homo floresiensis. That I mean, and honestly, this is one of my favorite cryptid stories of the last 15 years because this feels really legit. And the fact that they have him carrying, like the fact that the thing is carrying a stick, right?
Yeah.
Or you could argue it's a spear or something. That's not a detail somebody fakes. Again, artist spent some time looking at how to do restoration way back in college, and so I learned a little bit about how when you're looking at getting into restoration and museum work for art and all that, you learn about how when people are trying to create a fraudulent painting, right, and pass it off as a legit thing, how do you spot a forgery? There are details there are details that forgers focus on and details don't. When you have weird details like this, where he's carrying a stick, why would somebody put that in there? It just makes it harder to it makes it harder to work with, makes it harder to do, harder to fake. So it's those little details that makes me think this is a legitimate film. It has been around for a while, and I think it's. I do think again, I'm really of the opinion that we could be looking at something like Homo floresiensis for the orang pendek.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe something else entirely, but I think there's a good argument to be made for it.
I'm surprised I've ever seen that video. Thanks, Donnie, because I gotta tell you, it's definitely a legitimate in my mind. It's not a hoax.
And between the three of us, we've all seen a whole bunch of cryptid, Bigfoot, Dogman videos.
Oh yeah.
How often do we ever actually say to ourselves, "Yo, man, I think this one might be legit"? Yeah.
Almost never.
Probably never.
Yeah, like the ones that I can count probably on one hand the videos that we've seen that I've seen that are publicly available.
Mm-hmm.
I could probably count them on one hand. That I'm like, that's a legit, film. So yeah, this is honestly one of them. So now I have to count them on two hands.
Yeah, no, that's definitely I've never seen. I'm surprised I've never seen that. So thanks again, Donnie. But I like that. Donnie, you got that on your phone? Is that where you got that from? That's
actually
not from a YouTube site, is it? They're not going to flag me, are they?
Nah, because we already played it on the Blonde Show,
okay.
So it's fine. Yeah.
It's been around for a long time. So
actually, Randy was the one who cut it up.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He sent it to all of us actually.
And this was the only video where I do appreciate the red circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's how you know it's legit. Is it has a red circle?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Got to have the red circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you don't even really need it to see it. That's
No,
the other
you
thing
didn't.
is it's clearly there.
It really didn't, but that was kind of cool.
Nowadays, whenever someone shows me a paranormal or a cryptid photo, but it's like a yellow circle, I get really mad now. I'm like, why isn't it red?
Because
why isn't it red?
Yellow is cautionary.
It's got to be
we
red.
We don't know for sure what it is.
I saw someone use an actual green circle. I was like, how dare you?
That is the
dare you,
exact
sir.
opposite of red, which means you are antagonizing us.
You know what makes it worse is because it's Bigfoot. He's in the forest. Green is the last color you would choose.
Yes.
I was like, yeah, get this trash
Don't-
out of my face.
No. Unacceptable.
It's got to be red. That's the rules.
Red
Donnie-
circles, people. Red
Donnie
circles.
does, and I'll say this about the red circle. Hats off to Donnie because his red circles are perfect, symmetrically
Yes.
circumferenced off. Whatever.
Yeah. No, Donnie's circle game is really on it. He's had a lot of work with circles.
I don't like the
and
red circle
jerks,
with waves in it.
Yeah.
You ever get that red circle? It's all wavy and
I'm a stickler when it comes to my circles.
yeah.
He
Very
doesn't. Yeah.
Geometrically precise for sure. Well, gentlemen, Jason, thanks for stopping on in with all of the rest of our group down in San Antonio.
Always a pleasure.
Whooping and holler. And Donnie, thank you. I should have asked you earlier, but I've been busy. I was I did an early Easter today, Donnie, because all my family's going in for surgery for the rest of April.
Oh, geez. Sorry.
So we all got thank you. We all got together and we did it up pretty good. I was telling Jason that I had to get sober up. I drank like a whole pot of coffee, which doesn't make you sober, just, enhances your senses, makes the brain work a little better, at least in my case.
A little gooder. Make brain work gooder.
Yeah, my brain is still kind of like foggy, but a lot better. I'm not hammered. This is a great show. I got to thank everybody for coming on in tonight. Give me a like on the way out. Thanks to T-Bone. Thanks to Maggie. And thanks to, I forgot the other great person that gave me something. Oh, here it is. We got started. T-Bone, Scott, and Maggie for the awesome support, donations, and memberships. You guys rock. We do appreciate that. So it is Sunday morning now here where I live. And yeah, so Jason, Serial Papers, once a month, coming out soon. Don't forget to hit up Jason if you want some artwork. He doesn't charge much if you would like a photo or an image. Just kidding, Jason. I was trying to think how you can make money. But yeah, check out his comic books. Donnie, I don't know if you're on a little early. I showed some of Jason's work earlier today, which
I saw
which
that,
I
yeah.
didn't realize it was back 10 years ago or something. No, I'm just kidding. Very good,
Well, hey,
Jason.
always open for commissions.
And of course, yes, absolutely. Donnie Cho says stuff. That's cool.
Yes,
So you
and
guys
I did an episode a few hours ago, 9:30 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. So it was ending right, just about half an hour before you guys started. This episode was largely forgettable. I mean, if you want to watch the replay, you can, but
No star.
it's not one of my better episodes. I'll be honest.
now, were you by yourself or did you
I was
have
by myself.
a-
I was trying out like a concept. I don't think all the bits landed, but it is what it is.
now you know, and I'm gonna go watch it.
Yeah.
It's just This one was forgettable. I'm serious, guys. Skip this one.
Well,
Well,
to be honest.
I think the main thing here is that you can spend your night with the Island of Misfit Toys. You've got doesn't Paranormal Paul do a show on Saturdays as well?
Yeah, he does
Yeah, I
before
think
me.
he
He does 8
So-
p.m. Eastern, and then
Yeah,
I
you
come
start
on
with
9:30.
Start with Paranormal Paul, then go to
Yeah.
Donnie, then you go to Rob.
Yeah,
I just now that you mention that, that we all run boom 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 on Saturday night. Yeah.
yeah.
So
No,
it's
it's
like
like
fun,
it's
So
like the Misfit Marathon.
Misfit Marathon. I like
Yeah.
that. That's we
I
should
like
we should
it.
flag that. Misfit Marathon. So why don't go out and have fun with other people? Why
Yeah.
do that? Stay home, watch the Misfit Marathon, and live your life on
And
the internet, like we all should.
Yeah. And you know what you get? You get 4 straight hours of everybody.
Mhm.
8 to midnight. Well, no, actually, it's 5 hours. It's 12:38 here, but 12:39. But yeah. So I'm glad. Again, glad for the turnout. Glad for Jason coming on. Donnie, always a pleasure when you pop on, and yet offering your insight. And thank you for that video, man. I never seen that. Yeah,
It's a good one. It really is.
I like that a lot.
Yep.
Everybody subscribe. Bigfoot Michiganrob, Donnie Show, Texas Front Porch, Belongs to the Booze Paranormal Podcast, Paranormal Paul, Monica Rollins, Our Paranormal World. Miss Diva does something. At Daniel Diva, I think it is. I'm not sure. But anyway,
Diva Dimension.
Diva
It's on
Dimension.
Sundays.
Diva Dimension. Donnie's sometimes on that show. Donnie, you're kind of all over too now. I've seen you a lot more and more. You're becoming Tex. Tex is on 70 times in a week. I was on YouTube. I was on YouTube. I never heard of this channel before. And guess who's on his Tex? I'm like, what the hell is he doing here? They're talking about pottery. I mean, I can't believe it. He turns up
I'm not
everywhere.
like Tex.
He
I'm
turns
not
up
like Tex.
everywhere.
Yeah, I'm not going to be
Pottery
like
channel.
turning up at like 11 in the morning
Jeez.
to do a random podcast about whatchamagoo,
About throwing pottery.
Yeah, I'm not about to do that.
Yeah, I'm like, come on, Tex.
Yeah.
I tell you, my next endeavor, and I've talked about this, Jason, and Donnie, I might have told you. The other thing that I might branch into, but it would be a totally separate channel, or not. I was thinking about doing a cooking channel and telling cryptid stories while I cook, right?
Cooking with
just
cryptids.
Cooking with cryptids. Or maybe just do a full-blown just cooking channel. You know what I mean? But I'm on 4 days a week. That's enough, man. You know what I mean?
It really is. It really is.
On top
You
of
should-
everything else.
I told you should have turned this thing into a sports channel and just keep the Saturdays weird, man.
Yeah, I know. Well, I just once I do something, I can't stop, and I'd have too much going on, and I got to come out with my third book that you're going to get here in the next year, 18 months probably. BJ appears in the house. She sent me her book today, BJ. Thank you. And a keychain. It's on Facebook. I showed it off for her. Thanks, BJ. She's going to be on the show too in the summer. So thanks to BJ. Thanks to all you for coming on in. Again, it seems like I've been trying to get off for the last 8 minutes like we do. Finally. Thank you, Donnie. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks to everybody. Like old times, Mr. McLean.
Really is.
Oh, and I didn't even get a chance to say, really lastly, go to the archives. Jason McLean Questions Everything. Jason and I did a series on they. I wanted to talk about that tonight, Jason, but we'll have to do it one other time. They, everybody. And that's all I'm going to say. Check out Jason McLean's channel. And then Donnie did something with us. We talked about, it's basically New World Order, the oligarchies, the people that want to control our lives, the population, cashless society. We even talked about the zombie apocalypse, and it's not about zombies either. Check it out. I'm BMR. With that being said, I got to play text here, try to find the damn eggs.
Bringing back all the goodies, aren't you?
Yeah, I sure am. You know.
Do you want me to push the button?
No, I found it. I got so much to scroll down. Here it is. Love you guys. Take it easy.
Bye.
This is the future. Evolution.
The Crossing Realms Conference launches September 19th and 20th and will dock in Richmond, Missouri. This is already being called the event of the year, folks, with an unprecedented list of speakers and special guests, 2 days of cryptids, UFOs, and paranormal presentations, along with a celebrity-filled ghost hunt, meet and greet, gallery reading, vendors, and a film screening. This promises to be both educational and fun. Go to Eventbrite.com to secure your tickets and vendor slots before they are all abducted. They're going fast.